SWAT box, what are you doing here? This is a combat zone. It's restricted. Ease off on your main thruster and head over to patreon.com/SWOCBC for episodes of our all-new series, Inside the Insider, where the gang explores articles from every single issue of the official Star Wars Insider fan magazine in order and get an even closer look at how Star Wars and its fandom have evolved over the years. New episodes with each public upload months earlier for patrons. Red 24, Red 30, follow me to patreon.com/SWOCBC for the latest episode of SWAT Box, Inside the Insider today. In target range, it's ahead. All ships jump to light speed.
The Star Wars Old Canon Book Club is made possible by contributions on Patreon. Head to patreon.com/SWOCBC for ad-free episodes, reading guides, movie and TV episode audio watch-alongs, and more. Today's Old Canon Fact of the Day comes from A Guide to the Star Wars Universe 3rd Edition by Bill Slavichek, first published in 2000. Jawa Swag is the name of Rogue Squadron pilot Gavin Darklighter's astromech droid. It's also known as Tough Catch, or Catch. Today's selection is Han Solo and the Lost Legacy by Brian Daley, a novel first published on August 12th, 1980. Enjoy the show, and may the Force be with you, always.
Attention, intergalactic interlocutors. Is that a word?
Interlocutors?
That's a word, right?
I mean, it is now.
Welcome.
What's wrong with just interlopers? What's the cuters?
I think
'Cause they're
that
cutie boys?
I think it has something to do with talking. I don't know. We're back with another swashbuckling episode of the Star Wars Old Canon Book Club, a mistake that I'm making less and less nowadays. I feel like we're finally settled into the old, out with the new.
I was until I then tweeted out,
go check out the Star Wars New Canon Book Club.
The funniest thing was my autocorrect tried to warn me. I was like, no, that's the old one. Thinking old, not old canon, but our old podcast. The computers even tried to help me. And I was like, nope.
That's all right. We were at Golden Apple Comics in Los Angeles for Free Comic Book Day. It was fun. We did a panel.
That was great.
And we gave away, I would say, an obscene amount of Disney Plus 4K Blu-rays.
So much.
Like
copies of Andor galore.
I got Andor season 1 in a beautiful thing.
Yeah, pretty much every single person that came to see us walked away with a
one or more
4K Blu-rays. So that was crazy.
And
but
every seat was filled. I was impressed.
Yeah,
and some people walked away with some of Davis's personal collection.
That's true.
What Lego sets?
What did you give away? You gave away the Endor thing.
I gave away It's super sick. There's like a Return of the Jedi Endor speeder bike chase scene, like diorama type Lego thing.
Sure.
Then there was the Foundry, the Mandalorian. What's the blacksmith? Doesn't that character have a name?
I'm sure she does.
Probably the Smith.
That set, and then
Smith, Agent Smith.
I gave you my Force Awakens 3D Blu-ray super special
in my
edition.
defense, the original release of the Blu-ray did not have the documentary in it.
You don't need to have a defense. It's sick. It hurts me. That movie hurts me. And even though it's a beautiful collector's edition with the cool, what do you call those? Lenticular 3D covers. Oh, I couldn't give it away. I had that thing where I'm like, it's too nice. I need to or I couldn't give it to Goodwill. I needed to go to somebody that would appreciate it.
It was nice, yeah. And I've watched the documentary while not paying 100% attention to it at least once already, just because it was sitting there and I wanted to.
You just osmosising some of the facts.
Did you learn anything about what JJ was up to when he made that movie?
I don't want to talk about JJ.
Okay,
not on this show. This is the this is the OCBC.
Maybe you learned something.
I
learned was that my dude was playing fast and loose. That's all I learned.
This
right.
book really made me think about it I forgot what part of it, but just about how like, Chewbacca shoots Kylo.
Yeah.
Because they talk about life debts in this a lot. And I forgot what scene it was, but I was just thinking about like, man, I just don't ever see a universe where they like didn't figure it out, like that it got to that point. It like feels like that whole idea plays so fast and loose with their relationship. Sure. Being an uncle now and how I feel about my, like, even if they do a bad thing, like it just, the idea of how all that played out to me just feels wrong. This doesn't feel like believable.
You're absolutely correct. Later on in the old canon, we're going to get to some stuff. There's another Han Solo trilogy.
There's a lot of Wookiee
some
business.
Comics.
Yeah.
But in all of it, I got to give it to Daley. He actually captures later on. It's a little like that movie in that they kind of play fast and loose with the rules of what a life debt is. And if Chewie cares enough, and it's like, no, the whole point is the man owes Han a debt. He's sticking around no matter what.
That's kind of why I really like this. At the time of this is like the only thing that exists outside of like the movies in the world of books.
Sure.
So they don't have to like go that far away from like, anything to like, it can be annoying. It can be like Chewbacca has this like very binding life debt, these very scrupulous things, because it doesn't need to be broad. We don't need to fit Chewbacca anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So he can have that sort of.
But it's like, when do they first mention the life debt?
It's early in this book because they're talking about.
But don't they mention it in one of the earlier books, like the life debt concept, or is this the origin of it?
No.
Man, it is not. I mean, this isn't the origin.
Why do I know about it? Do they mention it in the movies?
I don't know if it's mentioned in the movies, but it's definitely mentioned in materials that would be around the time of the first one.
Is this the first time we've encountered it? I feel like we already encountered
I think we've already talked about it in the comics and in the...
Right. Yeah. His with Han is forever, but in this one at the end, he's like, and I've paid off that one. So it's like, why is one life debt like... Okay, cool. It's done. And one is like, I will continue to do it.
Maybe it's like, maybe it's like Columbo's wife, where like who knows, like Chewie and Han, like they're best friends for sure. What they share is like a type of relationship that most people who are alive don't have with each other.
Sure.
So maybe they mentioned that like, there's not even an English, like a common or basic word for it. Yeah, like so for the like, kind of relationship they have.
So maybe it's just like a series of life debts, back and forth. Like, oh my God, you saved me, I owe you. And then they just kind of like...
It's an amorphous thing because, again, I don't think there's any real defining characteristic of what a life debt is. And it gets real murky later on. So I appreciate how it's very simple right now.
Yeah. And of course, we're talking about Han Solo and the Lost Legacy by Brian Daley, which is like...
a quick 185 pages.
Each one of these is really
150 pages.
But each one of these is really snappy and quick.
Still took me like a long time to read.
For my numbers, it was like something like 200 pages, but I was in the like old book.
Oh, I wonder if based on the size of the book that like this,
all three of us read it in a different form. By the way.
Yeah. In the Kindle version, it's 150 pages.
On this, this is like the, I don't know, early 90s like trilogy version that I've got here.
In the 2000s Legends version, it's an entirely different vibe.
It's funny because that's the version that this is, but it's the Kindle version. So
this is the 1992.
Dataland doesn't really matter.
This is the 1992 edition that I've got here. Don't ask me why I have this. It's definitely an authentic relic from the time, though.
It like looks cooler.
Yeah.
The thing, like, this was the shortest one, but I also, I don't know about you guys, felt like the pacing was the tightest. It like, it to me, like, nailed it. Like, the last one had a bunch of, like, why are you introducing this concept in under 10 pages before the end? And I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if it's just because of like the way that we did it, where we like did the first two and then it was like a big break and then back to this one. But this one feels like it learned, like it's trim. It also, I also want to say it kind of has like a like Last Crusade vibe to it. Like
I know exactly what this is because it's the first note I wrote down after getting through all of it. This is the film National Treasure.
Yeah.
Almost exactly the film National Treasure. Go watch that movie again and read this book and you'll be like, oh my God, they're basically the same thing.
It's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit safer. It's a little bit like more fun and rollicking.
Even a twist near the end is national. It's the first. I was like,
it is like that thing where it's like it's a treasure hunt for like a pirate, like a thing, and then they just follow a bunch of clues of a long old thing. It also felt the most like D&D adventure-y of all of them.
Indiana Jones, the Mummy,
the last half is
Mummy.
almost just a fight, like one long. Just we gotta run here and fight this and do this and fight this and dodge this and. Maybe that's why it felt like it was so quick. It was a tight. It was 150 or 200, however many pages. It was great.
This could have been the Han Solo movie.
It was great. This was a great story.
Yeah, this one was super clean. That's what I mean. Like the other one was really complicated because it was like, who is getting the revenge? Like, what's going on? Why did Chewbacca do that? What's going through his mind? Why is he so depraved?
Luckily there weren't any of those scenes in this one. Yeah. I feel like the second one would have made a great movie. You needed like the soundtrack of like a Catch Me If You Can or like Smoking It. Like one of those things where like the visual presentation and audio of a video format could have like sold the kind of hectic pace of it. But like in book form, it just is a little bit disjointed. Whereas this was just like a good adventure story.
If anything, this made me appreciate the second one more because I like his openers. All three have a solid like we're doing a goof,
like a cold open kind of thing.
Yeah, it's almost TV show kind of vibe or a new season of a TV show, and like this is the season. It starts out one way, but that's not what it's really about. I don't know. I absolutely love.
Every one of them has me smiling. Like the cold open is like I'm like smiling, and then you're like, all right, and then let's get on to this.
Yeah, adventure. It's so good.
I will say, like back on the new Canon book club, we talked a lot about how the sequel trilogy, like seeing it just one movie, it's like one opinion and one vibe for the trilogy. Seeing Force Awakens and Last Jedi were like maybe the third movie will kind of like define what the arc of this trilogy is, whatever, as we were like letting it build in real time, which was kind of fun. And same thing with this. I find that my opinion towards like Gandro and like the sort of like very hurried last act of the Han Solo's revenge story like kind of changes because knowing that it was going to like pay off in like a Pirates 3 kind of way here.
Sure.
And kind of be like a part 2 to that story. And then they wrap it up so nicely. And I really like what happens to Gandro. And I think it's just a really good little like, it's a great way for Han Solo to get out of his scrape. It's also Han Solo as Indiana Jones.
And
yes.
And it sets up, and maybe interestingly, there's a lot of fun stuff like how the trilogies mimic whatever or certain events. You're like, oh, that's just what they do in Return of the Jedi with the Ewoks. But
there's an actual car chase in this one, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, but like that, the second one is like, it's not really a cliffhanger, but it doesn't like fully end. And then this is a like conclusive end because it's like, all right, we're going to go be where we need to be for
episode 4. Yeah.
Any character that's not in the movie is now gone and we're off to go.
Yeah, literally hired like every single, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense really, but I love it and it's great.
It also has, going back to Indiana Jones, it might be a little more Indiana Jones than National Treasure, but it's straight up, it has an Indiana Jones ending vibe to it as well, where it's just like
they're all on the horses at the end.
What an adventure!
You named the dog Indiana, like that kind of vibe.
Even the treasure they're hunting has an Indiana Jones twist to it.
Yeah, exactly. Like we'll get there. We'll get there. Let's get to it. Chapter 1. Han Solo is working for this like old shitty stunt pilot who's called Grilman.
Dude,
which one of the most awkward words that you could ever say? Grilman.
I did have to reread it and literally say it out loud because I was like Grimgin.
Grimgin. It's spelled Grigmin, but like it worked for me once I started thinking about it like J. Jonah Jameson.
Sure.
Grilman, what are you doing, Grilman? Like, I love that idea. And he's kind of just like a shitty, like he's only a stunt pilot because the people that he's doing the stunts for have never seen a fucking spaceship before.
This is like an interesting concept because there's like backwater planets, but this sort of like introduced a new aspect where like the galaxy's massive.
Like Prime Directive does not exist in Star Wars.
3 different factors of shittiness lower. They're using like paper currency. They're using like fossil fuels. They like
printable currency.
Right. But like, I think that we've even just like Tatooine was like, well, they still have like way better shit than this. This is like a different civilization level in like Age of Empires. And it's really interesting because you're like, yeah, you can convincingly, it doesn't feel out of place to do this because it's like there would be places like this where there's just nothing. And then, yeah, if you can't hack it, you know, there, you can take your show there. And it's like a flea circus would be amazing to these people.
And we already had that in like actual reality too. Like,
the vibe of the whole thing was imagine being from 2024 with 2000s, early 2000s tech in 1970s Kansas.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just like, to me, this is stupid. I don't know why we're getting away with this, but these dudes are losing their mind over it.
Yeah, they can't believe it.
Yeah.
And so basically what happens is they're pissed because they need this job because there is no work because they had to get out of the corporate sector. And he like basically does this dude's repairs because the guy like doesn't even fly well enough. So he just shreds everything that he uses to do stunts with.
For clarity, Han and Chewie blew all their "we freed the slaves" money. The last story, they straight up just either spent it all on stupid stuff, lost it doing stupid stuff, and this is what they have to do.
I remember it being more money, but in this, I think they said it was 10K credits.
Yes, yeah. And they just spent it all.
They were like, yeah, I love. They were like, they tried 3 different failed ventures, and then they also just like partied.
Yeah. So basically, they're just having like a shit time, and then this dude Fadoop shows up, and Fadoop's like, "Did you know that there are people here that are like have like a real job for you that you could go do?" And they're like, "Are you fucking serious?" And they literally just like figure out they're basically like these university people need you to like smuggle some supplies and stuff. So what do you say? You want to go do that? And he's like, actually, yeah. And hang on 1 second real quick. And he like,
let me go roast this idiot.
As they're like taking off, he like does like the exact same tricks that Grilman's doing in like a way shittier spaceship. Just completely shames him.
Literally shits on him because he's taking like, he like gets in a compost or like some manure vehicle.
It's like, yeah. And then
he wins like just a little setting because it's like the festival of like the harvest and sky. And he ends up like winning the entire show because he like, I guess the theme involved. Yeah, like dumping, whatever. I was just like, I fucking love these intros. It's so hilarious.
I must stress the most important thing about this that we all should focus on is that Chewbacca has an admiral's hat.
Dude,
a frilly, that's fluffy admiral, and it makes no sense.
For the whole first act of this story, Chewbacca, I don't know where Chewbacca's head is at.
He has an admiral's hat.
For the whole first act of this, Chewbacca's like trying to get some kind of weird, like sexy situation on with him and Han involved. Did you just put on a newsboy's hat?
I love this because I understand when you get like a little hat or a little something and you kind of like become that for a while. Basically, like in some deal, he just conned like an admiral.
He was like, "Give me that hat too." Yeah,
and then he like fell in love with it and wears it throughout the beginning and like acts.
He like became
different.
Gentleman Chewie with
he
it
like
on. Yeah.
tells people he's the captain.
Yes,
like fucking Han goes along with it. Just be like,
he's like, yeah. He tells 2 babes that he's Captain Chewbacca, and then he's going to take him on a ride in his car.
I'm not sure exactly what that hat looked like. But in my mind, it was just like HMS Pinafore, just like Chewie, huge admiral hat. And he's like, I am the model of a modern major general.
He's got like an ascot
like
on.
Weekend Warrior vibes, except that Chewbacca like is a killer.
Bucket of
so it's like weird that you're like, you're cooler than an admiral. Why are you even doing this? But
it's
so into it.
So funny. So basically they show up, they're like having this like haggling deal with the guy. They're talking about how it's like perfect that they like, as they're haggling, it's like all theater, but they're like, they know that in the end they're going to keep unloading this stuff. So they just kind of like slowly trick him into agreeing to less and less money until they're like fine with it.
Also, we are like, Alex, I think we're like, I don't know, 20 pages in, right? Yeah. We're not that far in. So far, we've met 3 aliens. All 3 aliens are wacky and crazy looking.
A bunch of them the first creatures I couldn't even find like images of.
Fadoop is like a green
He's like
ape.
a green monkey with a black cigar, which is hilarious.
Like the purple skinned creature that's with Hisal is just like a purple, tiny red eyes, greasy.
Yeah.
The descriptions, I'm like, this is Star Wars. This is Star Wars. We need more of this instead of like 8 humans walked in the room.
Yeah,
It's great.
So they get like guns pulled on them by like the like new government or whatever that they're smuggling, that they tried to smuggle the stuff past.
The new regime.
Yeah, the new regime. And
Well, it's not. It technically wasn't smuggling, if I'm recalling. Like they just because Han was like, "What? Why do you need us?" And it's like, look, it's like above board. This is a donation, but like
they're just like dicks.
they're like, and then you find out it's because it's like a totalitarian new regime.
Yeah, they're like little fascist assholes. And they try to negotiate, but then like tricks him, pulls a gun on him. They fight.
Han does the stupidest thing in this scene where basically they're like, look, Mr. Solo, we would love to help you out. Let's talk money. He's like, I don't want your stupid paper money. Your money's trash. Look. And he literally copies it in front of them.
Yeah, that's the thing that he's dropping off is like a duplicator, like in the sense of like Star Trek. Like
he's like, you could duplicate this money. It's so easy. And they're just like, counterfeiter, lose their mind.
They're like gonna destroy their entire economy.
To me, this was like that moment is actually huge for me, in that I think it is a hint at the end, which I thought was kind of interesting, where he spends this moment where he's like, "This is worthless. This money is worthless.
Here, it's important, but I can't take this
around the
anywhere."
galaxy." Yeah. And I thought that's super interesting because when you get to the end, I was like,
Womp.
"Was that like a
100%? 100% it is. It's just like a little tip of the cap for the people who like to, or as we call it in screenwriting world, the Miami Vice stunt show jacket souvenir from what's the name of that movie?
Fall Guy.
The Fall Guy. The most recent movie that I could think of, just to date this episode as much as possible.
That movie slaps though.
It was pretty fun.
The like government. I mean, like Chewie, weren't they all using like outmoded weapons and trying to speak like humans, and like they were trying to like they're like playing.
It's literally like
fascist
it's like
government.
the good life for Han and Chewie this whole time. Like they're almost like in easy mode on the game. Like they like booted up their like favorite open world game in easy mode, and they're just like dealing with a bunch of jokers at this point.
I wrote down 2 lines, Inspector Keek, the guy who's like trying to talk to him. And you're right. They try so hard to be human, but the things they say are done in a way that new Star Wars fails miserably at. But like, this is great where they say, illegally speaking, they haven't got a receptacle to skloop in, which was a great line.
There's a grooviness to old Star Wars language that is lost in the new canon. There's like a kind of stonery, kind of wacky grooviness to it that doesn't come through.
There was another line, we'll cast intoxicating liquids through our bodies and boast of our sporting abilities. And I was like, this is so good.
I remember later.
Yeah, I have that same highlight because that is like aliens trying to like do whatever, but then they even just the way that they try to do like slang, but it's like we'll get a couple of jet juicers and like go on a mighty twist, like something like that. You're like, I don't know if this was actual talk at the time or if it's just like, but it like kind of works because
it's like, hey, my fellow human, you want to go get some brews down at the brew pub with you?
And
like
that's the guy trying to be human.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it comes off as funny, but other characters, when they say stuff like, you know, they have a receptacle to skloop in, you get what they mean.
Yeah.
But it's not like they aren't padooing in that container, you know, like it's actually just
Chuba.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So they finish the job. They're paid. They're at the university. They like go to a spa day. But they show up at the spa and they run into this guy, Bador. I don't know how we want to say this. He's in the whole book.
I thought it was Bador.
Yeah, Bador.
It just sounds so much like manure. It sounds like I have a cold.
Badure.
It sounds like I have a cold and I'm talking about cow shit. But it's like I don't know. Bador. I'm just gonna go with Bador.
His name was Alex. You could have gone with that.
Yeah. That, you know what? That's fair. And then Hasty is another one that
I thought it was Hasty.
I went with Hasty just because I can't imagine these people. I thought it was Baduri and Hasty.
I thought it was Hasty and Lonnie.
Yeah.
But it could be Lanny.
Lonnie. Yeah, I just Hasty.
Laurel and Yanni. So Badur's like, hey, I got a job for you. But Han's like, not now. And so then this is when Chewbacca buys this like fucking wood paneled rental car and he meets these 2 girls that he's got a picnic basket all set up that like comes with them on a whole action sequence. But Chewbacca, so basically Han hears about the job and is like, but Bador brings it up by being like, hey, you remember that time I saved your life? And so you know that Han saved this guy's life, but he doesn't care. But then when he gets back
Han's
to
life.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Han and Chewie's life. But when he gets back to Chewbacca and tells him, oh, I didn't want to do the job, Chewbacca's like, bro,
Life debt, dude.
life debt. You can't welch on a life debt. He's like, well, are you just gonna go either way? And then Chewbacca's like, do I have to? And Han's like, no, you fucking asshole, fine fucking bastard, shit ass. And so they like,
Well, and Han like felt guilty about it immediately after like walking away. Cause like he goes to like a sick ass spa after, and they like go into detail about all the cool different like shower systems they have at these places where it, like on a molecular level like cleans you, or like in each individual strand of his hair was like clean.
that's true.
Whatever.
It's like the Wizard of Oz when the lion shows up and they like give him the like car
like,
wash treatment. Yeah.
Han also like quit his like shower halfway through because he was like he was feeling guilty about it.
Is this, correct me if I'm wrong, the world they're on for this is a university world?
Yeah, it's like a college town.
I was like, so it's a college. So literally it's Han and Chewie cruised into a college town and are picking up like college girls.
This was like if I'm remembering,
Captain Chewbacca.
Where they delivered the supplies to, those supplies came from this university world. It was like their like outreach to a lesser wealthy planet. And so this is them, like, I guess, them
main
back
town,
just
basically.
collecting.
This is where they'd go to like unwind, right?
A college world sounds hilarious.
Yeah.
I love the vibe.
It eventually becomes known that like what the job is has to do with this thing called the Treasure of the Queen of Ranroon, which is like a classic, like the wreck of the whatever, like an old lost pirate treasure.
It's just like the lost treasure.
Yeah, from an ancient time when a bunch of the galaxy was conquered by like a Genghis Khan type guy called Zim, the Despot, which is hilarious. And the little bit of like flavor text we get about this guy from time to time, like crushed within his, like the entire galaxy will forever be crushed within his fist.
He had war robots. And the best part about this is it was 25,000 years ago.
Yeah. So he's like ancient.
I love that. I love that they were like, yo, no, this is very old. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
And it's like tech, but it's old. It's really neat. It's really like very like they go straight to like Star Wars Indiana Jones. It's real cool. And they do it and they're like, well, how are we going to get it? And it's like, well, the location is in this like giant depot that he has that is like a storage place for all his treasure, but the only part of it that's actually in use today is like a public store, like a public storage facility where we have the coordinates to the treasure
because
hidden.
Somebody put it in the storage.
Yeah, they're hidden very close to where the treasure is, and we know where that is, and that's why these guys are about to kill us. Let's go! And so these guys like show up, and we're in like a full-on Indiana Jones car chase, and the babes are with them, and they think they're about to go on like a sexy picnic, and there's like an actual picnic basket flying around as they're like smashing the car, and Chewbacca's like crying because his sandwiches are flying everywhere, and his hat gets blown off, and Captain Chewbacca is all over now.
Dude, the first time they like smashed into the car and like broke the wood, they were like, and Chewbacca like yelled at the dude like, oh!
And then his hat flies
like,
off, and he's
I wouldn't worry about the deposit, dude.
Yeah. So
I like that Chewie was concerned. I like that.
This is another, like, all these do Chewie so well. This one had a bunch more Chewie with none of the like tearing apart a pterodactyl and none of the problematic aspects of it. But yeah, oh my God. Fuck, these books do Han and Chewie so well. And I'm like sad that this trilogy is over.
Yeah. But the good thing is they're going to be in like fucking every single story that we read. So don't worry.
That's true.
But we also meet Skinks at this point, who Bador and Hesty like know is coming. They're like, oh, there's this guy coming that's going to help us on this journey.
Another great alien.
This dude is
Rurian.
He's a Rurian. He's like a giant millipede, basically, with like I'm going to picture that he has shoes on his feet.
I Googled it and it's pretty sick. So it's like a meter tall, which I get is like 3 feet plus a little bit. It's just, but like he's like a little guy and he has, I guess, 8 sets, so 16 total hands and feet, but they're all opposable. Every digit is opposable, so they're like
Really creepy.
climb anything. He can like do anything.
Really creepy.
And he's just like a little nerd.
He's an expert in ancient human civilizations.
Yeah. Well, and then their species is like, they have like it's like the normal thing, like a pupae, I don't know how you pronounce that phase, then like a chrysalis, and then like a butterfly phase. But they kind of Benjamin Button, or like
he's going to shed his personality.
When they're young, they live their like longest life cycle as the young, smart defenders of the civilization. Then they have the chrysalis period. Then they become chroma wings for one season, and that's when they like
become a fuck monster.
Just like a fucking, like they don't even have a brain anymore. They just go like fuck and live for like a season and reproduce and then die.
Yeah. So he wants to he wants to live one adventure.
Kind of cool that like retirement is like, all right, now go fuck. Now
go to fuck paradise.
Get out of here, you old man. Go fuck.
That's most retirement homes. We don't want to talk about it, but like
imagine,
it
like,
is.
That flesh.
But imagine if at a retirement home you were like your hottest. You like all then became like
and you can fly.
I mean, nothing's stopping you. You can go right now and be your hottest at the retirement home.
Oh man, I don't even want to.
Sure.
Nothing's stopping you.
I'm just saying it, like, I thought it was just cool that like the idea that your physical prime is the end of your life.
Yeah.
Like,
and that
you're
skinks. Just like, yeah, that skinks the what is he? A
Rurian.
Rurian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Han is like getting nervous because there seems to be somebody after him. Bador is like kind of noticing that Han is kind of like,
oh no, Bador tells him, he's like, by the way, I don't know who it is, but like there's word is out that somebody with money is looking,
right, but Han already,
to find you.
Han already knows who it is. Han is like,
oh sure, but he didn't know that Gandro was after him until Bador was like, by the way, this is happening.
I see. So
then he literally starts like practicing
that. Yeah, that's what I was getting into, is that Bollocks and Blue Max have been like, well, Blue Max has been like programming this remote that Han has to be like super remote and be like super crazy, because Blue Max obviously has a better processor than the remote. So he wants to be like even better at shooting than the remote can train him to be. And so they're working on that. And he's explaining that Gandro is like maybe the greatest gun ever to live. And so even though Han's good, this guy's going to X him out and yada, yada, yada.
I always forget that the remote is Han's, just because like they practice with it.
It's like his PS5.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, you just practice. It makes sense. Like if you're a smuggler and you're obsessed with your survival and you have long periods of time, that like Han just practices quick drawing repeatedly.
Yeah. And then we also, this is when Han realizes that he's in love with the redhead because she's hot now.
She just like, yeah, she wears like her sister's like hot costume.
Yeah,
and then he's
what
like,
happened to her sister? She got killed for the flight log.
Lonnie? Yeah.
The two like gangsters had her killed.
Yeah, the people that are chasing them like got her sister, so now she has to pretend to be her sister to like access the storage vault.
And suddenly, gorgeous.
Yeah, and so now Han's like all like, wow, and she's like literally like, what an asshole this guy is. And so they land on Dalalt, which is where the vaults are, and they have a plan, and it's all like a big kind of complex plan. So all the people go and look at the ship because Dalalt is like even more backwater than how the place from the beginning is. So they're like mind blown that a ship is even landing, and they're like looking at the ship and they can't handle it. And all the new species that they see are exciting. So
the thing that's like interesting is twice they do the thing where they like don't tell you the plan. They just are like, and then Han laid out a plan and they weren't sure how it was going to go. And then they do the plan, but they don't like, it does feel like they didn't have it planned out fully, but they want you to feel like it's a plan.
Sure. Yeah.
I guess the first one's a little bit more planned out.
Well, so they start distracting everybody by looking crazy, and then the guys at the docks, and I think I was talking about these guys earlier, but they're actually right here, is Han and Bador like start arguing with the guy about the rates, but it's like calculated because they know this guy's going to argue with them, and they're using it to like cause a diversion for a while for everybody to pay attention to. And while the way that they haggle, it's like
part of the culture is to insult and like it's like
and Bollocks is
ritual.
like at the same time that they're doing that, Bollocks is like unloading, and Hasty like uses this opportunity to like sneak out, to like go.
Yeah, Hasty's like in one of the crates.
She wants to sneak and grab the like flight log before anybody else has a chance to grab it, basically is the whole point. And everybody's looking out for them, so they're trying to do it quick. So everything goes like super good. Everything's working. Skinks pops out and like blows everyone's minds at one point. People get terrified of Chewbacca up in the fucking thing, and he's like, hey, and they're like, what is that? And it all goes good until Hasty gets to the thing, and she finds out that there's like a voice ID that she has to pass to get in there. And I don't know what happens. They don't really like get into how she like got back to the Falcon. She just comes back, and it's just like, I mean, I don't know. It didn't work.
It was great because then the way that they like did it in the book, they like cut back to the other stuff right when he was like, you know, voice recognition. And she was like, oh shit, there was no like voice recognition in this plan. And so I didn't know
what happened,
if it was going to work or not. And then it was just like,
but she just shows up.
But yeah, like if you go to a safety deposit place and you don't have access, they're not like kill you. They're just like,
I know, but in this case,
she just walked back.
Yeah, which is weird. Because right after that is when the assassins catch up with him again.
Yes. Okay.
And so this time Han hears Bollocks and Blue Max like texting each other like in silence while everything's getting ready. And then Blue Max is like,
oh yeah, because
he's like, don't worry,
they can send like high pitched like data streams to each other, but Han knows that sound.
Yeah, there's a line earlier that Bador says where he's like, I like these droids. They have a touch of larceny to them, or something. But because of that, Blue Max and Bollocks like communicate, and so when Bollocks is like, I can actually open the ship for you guys, he opens it, and the remote just so they come back like after they know that Hasty is away, they go back and like celebrate because they think that they just got it. Like they're drinking. This is when we learn what's his face? Skinks busts out like a bunch of instrument, like little mini instruments, and he plays like he's a one man. In my head I was thinking of Dick Van Dyke from like Mary Poppins, except for it's like beautiful. And he like pretends he's gonna mess up and shit.
He like and like fucks. It's like one of those like great campfire scenes where you like get character moments because they're just like, we're about to be rich. Then she comes back, finds out they don't, and then like, well, all right, let's just like go out and like get a meal and like go out in the town. And it's when they're out that all the windows are boarded up. It's like, it feels like an old West town where like,
when people, everybody, when they're walking down the street and they see everybody closing the windows kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they get caught by Jewatch and what's her brother's name?
The twins. Yeah. It's
the twins. The only thing was like, there's like so little to them. They're talked about the whole time because they're the ones that like,
it's that classic like evil twins that love each other thing.
The antagonists, but you don't actually like spend almost they get
and then they have like a muscle guy called like Eben Moss or something like that.
Oh,
I forget what his name.
Eben Moss is a great name. I don't think that's it, but that's a great name.
I don't know what it is, but it's like a guy who's even
something.
It's
but
important because it's even bigger than Chewbacca. Is the whole idea. So they're off the ship, but the diversion is that Blue Max and Bollocks used the remote that they were using to train Han to basically be like an invisible ass beater to everyone and just like cause like the biggest diversion.
That's so sick. Just like, like smacking people in the face.
Yeah. So they like run into the city and they like make a diversion that makes it look like they steal a vehicle and died or something and like crashed or something like that.
Oh yeah. So they go hide out and they like, it's like, I love how like at this point, the bowcaster and his blaster are characters. They can't,
everybody tries to use them. Yeah.
So they just keep immediately like their shit gets taken and the whole town is now covered with like gangsters looking for them. But the only ones that come right to them, luckily both have the bowcaster and his pistol. So it's never gone.
Chewbacca's able to like dodge the bowcaster blast. And before the dude reloads, like runs because it's way too strong.
The guy that like is wielding it doesn't understand that I guess it fires like, it's not immediate. So he like steps out to get the guy to fire, not realizing that the guy doesn't know that there's like delay.
He knows the timing, and then it's way too like heavy for him to pull back. So Chewbacca just rushes him, which is like a hilarious reason to lose to Chewbacca.
Yeah, and then they just like they steal like a vehicle. They like try to like unlock it, but they don't in time. So then he's like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna like make a diversion."
They think they're gonna like trick them into thinking they died and then go steal the ship. But what really happens is they're like, "Oh, sick, they're dead. Look," and then so they just like take the Millennium Falcon and like go, and Han's like, "Ah!" And he's like, "Fuck!" And then they're like, "What are we doing?" And he's like, "I'm getting my ship back."
Dude,
Like
he almost like gave up after like Chewie. They talk about him like carefully getting rid of their tracks and like hiding it so it looks like they got in there and died. He just sprints out when he sees they're trying to do it and starts screaming, and you're just like,
well, it doesn't matter anymore because the fucking they're like, "What are we gonna do if they start taking it apart?" He's like, "I will put it back to fucking together and fly it out of here." Like,
it's just, I don't know. It's just a great moment of like this whole book. He puts the Falcon above lives,
everything, yeah.
which is like knowing Han. It
Exactly
totally
correct,
tracks,
yeah.
and it's just like, I don't know.
So then this
Fun.
like weird like episode of the TV show happens where they have to get around this lake, and it's gonna take a really long time to get around the lake.
This was sick. I thought. Were you not into it?
No, I had a good time. It's just like a little like filler episode right here.
It's like a thing that there is no way they could have done this
Yeah,
practically in a movie at the time.
there's
Like,
these guys
you would
that
need
like,
like Avatar Way of Water effects to pull this shit off.
there's these
now, but
guys.
it was sick.
These like muscle fish guys that like pull these things across the water.
Yeah, they mentioned there's like 2 sentient species on this planet.
Yeah,
And one of them is like, it said 12.5 meters.
big guys.
So I don't know. What does that mean?
Like 30, 35, 40 feet.
Okay.
Big guys.
They look like Pokemon. Like they look like a legendary Pokemon.
Yeah.
They're like water dudes.
They're big
Everything
dudes.
in this is like a Pokemon.
Yeah.
Every single alien is like a weird little Pokemon.
And so the ones that are like the like healthy young asshole dudes are like charging way too much to get across. But there's like this other guy who's like older and shittier looking who they warned him like, well, you can go with him, but he's going to get you killed. And it turns out that guy is like, I will literally take you across this lake for free if you like get your own ass over here. There's enough humans on the docks because these fucking big ass dudes are putting everybody out of work and not letting anybody work because they're pricing everybody out. So everybody's got your back. If you like roll on these guys, they're not going to be able to shoot you or anything, but you have to like be tough and get to my boat and then I'll take you.
Yeah, it's basically they have like a very intense, it's kind of like the guilds in the last one, like a code of ethics about how they work. And the Shazine, I think, is the guy that they
Shazine
have.
is like their dude.
He's like the old alpha
And
bull.
Clackerax
And then
or
he
whatever.
like talks about, and then the Clackerack is like his nephew. And basically like he used to be the alpha of that part of the lake. And then after like losing an eye and shit, he's like, I just went to like the warmer waters up north and like chilled. And then my like shitty nephew came in and like
fucked up the
became
economy.
a bully.
Yeah.
The humans are scared of him. Like he like threatens like his dock chief. He's like, you better come or I will like dig you out of your hole and you will know I'm like, it was like scary. He was like a little like demon.
So once they get on,
He wants, why he is like Han is having him charge for free. So he can't just like attack him. The rules of engagement are such that he has to create this highly convoluted scenario.
They can't, like,
where
use
they're
the guns.
doing
Yeah.
their job and the other guy fucks up and then only the two of them can fight and the other water creatures can fight the water creatures. But the ground people can fight the ground people. So those are the fucking
But when they get there, but even then, when they get there,
it's
and they
so
get,
complex.
but then they get on the raft, and it's like, and now we race, and so then it's like a race situation, and he has to race his nephew. Shazine has to race his nephew.
Were you surprised at how quick this went down?
This is like 3 pages.
I thought that because they like loaded up all this stuff, I was like, ooh, it's going to be like a saga on the ocean. It's going to be like, it's over and done with then.
It's like shorter than the pod race. Yeah, it's like done, and they like bite him, and he's like, all right, thanks.
It's like if once the pod race starts, Sebulba just immediately starts like trying to shoot Anakin himself. Like I was like, oh, it really was just complete like theater to get this fight going.
But that's most of the book. It's really fast paced.
Yeah, it's a quick one. And so they find out that Lonnie had been to this lake before as they leave, and she went that way. So they like go that way and they follow her. And then now they go up the mountain.
Hold on. We're just going to skip over the actual encounter because this is important. This is where Han gets his chin scar.
Oh, that's right. In the race.
Yeah. Basically, they race.
You're totally right. I did not piece that together at
The
all.
pirates, the guy cuts over and basically just connects their things, and then they're trying to cut.
It's
the
like Ben
lines,
Hur.
those big towing cables. They're called hawsers or hawsers or whatever, but they're just the big iron cables. Han is fighting a pirate captain, and he cuts him in the chin, and then that's how he gets the Han Solo scar that you all know. And then it's fucking Aquaman finale of these dudes
beasts
fucking beating.
Yeah.
It sounds so sick. And then the old guy has he's missing an eye. And so, after they fought for a while, the nephew goes to his blind side and then is gonna go in for the kill. And then in the last second, he turns and takes the bone of his head and just cracks his nephew's skull or does it. And he's all these fucking posers, they think that they all go for my blind side as though I'm not going to fucking know that's going to happen. And I get him every fucking time. And you're just
and it's not
whoa.
that, it's weirdly not that big of a deal. Everybody's just all right, that's the rules. We're going to be fine over here. Thanks for having a good afternoon, by the way. Your sister went that way.
oh yeah. They're but what about this? Don't worry about it. He's going to be fine
It's
now.
totally, that's
now
just how
that
we
I
do
beat
it.
him,
Yeah.
he'll be cool forever. They set up and then ended this whole ecosystem in one
That's
chapter.
what I mean. It's just a little side story that beginning, middle, end, I would say 5 pages total. It was so funny.
It was, oh man.
But in this book, there's a giant sea beast race in the middle of this weird Indiana Jones story. I don't know. Chapter 10, we're well over the halfway point now already in this quick ass book. They climb, they now have supplies. They're up the mountain. They're camping. He talks about why everybody calls Han Solo slick, right? Which is
why Bador calls him slick.
Yeah, because he was in flight school, and I don't remember the exact story. It was
each of these book hints at a different one. Is the first book was his Imperial cadet stuff. The second one was his life as a criminal, and this one is about Carillion flight security because they talk about the red piping on his pants is a sign of distinguishment, a purple heart from Corellia that I need to find.
It's not Corsac, right? Not yet.
Keep going. I have the quote. I'll try to pull it up.
Well, basically what I was going to say though, before we move on, it's going back to what we were talking about this book, just low key giving you Han Solo's story. There's a point where Han Solo pulls out his flight jacket. That's around this time. I think it's a little before this, where he's in the ship and he pulls out his flight jacket to put it on and go out. And it's he pulls it out and most of the jacket's pretty cracked and dry and worn, but there's many places on the jacket that are a lot darker that have military patches that were ripped off. And you're that's so cool.
Oh yeah. That he was a distinguished, oh fuck. Where is it?
I mean, the start of it is for me at least, it's 471, Davis, where he says, he asks him about why he calls him slick, and he says they don't give away the Corellian blood stripe for perfect attendance. And then they have that conversation about why do you call him slick? And then he just tells the tale.
Yeah, it's something about the ship was failing and he saved everybody.
Basically, what happened was it was cadets training of some piloting, and the shitty, probably Nepo lead, the guy who was running it, who was an idiot, in the training ship was we're going to fuck the ship up so that it will break. And Bador was it's hard enough to just accurately pilot a ship without you actually destroying it to teach them a lesson. And he's I'm the leader, so what I say goes. And so on this flight thing, the ship fucks up because they fucked with it, and Han steps in and actually blows everybody's mind and completely saves their lives. And
just is good enough already.
He does it through a series of barrel rolls. That's the best part.
Yeah,
He barrel rolls to a centrifuge. Like, it's amazing.
Because they were like, the landing gear wouldn't come out. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? Like fucking climb in there and like fucking put it yourself? And he's like, I don't need to. I can do this like by just flying. And he does like corkscrews and shit to like
shake it out,
force it out. And then somebody like ironically called him slick or whatever. And he was like, is that slick enough for you?
Yeah. And they're
Once
like,
he, like-
oh,
Yeah.
slick. Yeah.
But they also do a bunch of like, that just to like show you more stuff about Han. When he was there on the intercom, he's like, all right, other cadets, to make them not scared. He's like, we're going to do like a really live training, whatever. Like just basically like making them think that what he's about to do is actually part of the plan and that they're not in danger and about to die, to like
make it seem chill.
Like be a cool guy and not like scare people erroneously. So fuck, while I was looking that up, I saw another thing that I want to talk about that we already passed, but it was directly involving time, because you know how I feel about standard time parts.
Oh boy.
So here they said the planet's year was half again as long as a standard one, with a shorter standard mean day. Gravity was slightly more than standard, but since Han had adjusted, whatever. The point is, now we're talking about days and years standard. None of this time parts nonsense.
Maybe that's a basic, maybe that's like a patch, like how they like add like new emojis. You know what I mean? Like recently they added like the like yes emoji and the no emoji.
It was something the Emperor was trying out.
And the Phoenix emoji. So maybe they just like updated basic.
I'm just saying they are like, instead of just saying, oh, it's a couple of the galactic standard time parts and doing nothing, they were like, oh, there's like a standard year and there's a standard day. Those are now.
You would imagine it would be based off Corellia, or not Corellia, Coruscant. It would be like Coruscant is
Probably.
if it's 24 hours, then everything
I
is.
just want to point out that it's no longer a like standard time unit or something so broad and indescriptive that we don't know what it is. It's there are days and there are years.
I'm sure we're still going to be
months.
I'm sure this is not even the last time that's going to change. Like,
because they say cycles and rotations also sometimes.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure that we're going to get like all kinds of weird shit about, but I don't know what that means. Maybe there's like some article about it in the Star Wars Insider somewhere later down the line. Who knows?
It could just be like, there are tens of thousands of known worlds. They all have different words.
Different languages, different customs. We've seen a bunch.
They all have different words. Story. Shut up. Get out of my face.
Yeah.
So then also Gandro shows up, and now we're like reaching the act 3 of this story now. Because the players are all now on the board, and they're headed up the trail. They see like a landing field.
Has he done his like little town visit yet?
That's Gandro.
Literally, I think that happens right now.
You talking about Gandro?
Yeah. Is that
when he like shows up?
Yeah.
That I just kind of breezed over it.
It's not like not much, but it's just a cool. It's like, the movie in your head. He like takes off his cool jacket and like folds it, like takes off. He's impressive. Scarf. Yeah. He's got like his little mustache with like gold beads.
He's Timothy Olyphant in my mind.
He like walks into town and just like nobody fucks with him. And he like makes everybody tell him exactly what he wants to. He like goes with his eagle eye and like susses out the scene. He goes and gets like expensive ass equipment and like scans the wreckage. And he's like, yeah, nobody fucking died here. Han Solo's my little bitch.
I'm fucking tight.
Gandro is tight. He like is the guy that you think he is, but he's like, I love him.
He's like Wild Bill from Deadwood.
He's like Revolver Ocelot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's also like his downfall. His
cocksuredness.
Yeah,
absolutely is. 'Twas cocksuredness killed the beast in this case.
It's a bummer because I like,
especially today,
I'm into him, but this is like
into him.
That sounded weird. Like I would have liked to see more of him, but I get
more of his body.
But actually, we got more of him as like an antagonist.
Right.
Maybe his arm can live on, and and Dr. Evazan or whoever got it cut off can just put it on. But you know what? With the whole theme of like, he got to exist as long as he needed to, he did have a sick thing. So
that's the thing that's so great about this old Star Wars shit, is that like, these fuckers die and flame out, and you're like, hell yeah. It's like Boba Fett. Boba Fett fucking died like in like 1 second after you meet him in the movies. Like,
I'm not that's that one I'm not hell yeah about.
Well,
because he didn't really have anything.
Here's
Like,
what's up. I have some great news for you. Like, retroactively,
I know. I'm saying, like, but he didn't. Gandro, we got like cool scenes. We got like his downfall made sense. Boba Fett just got fucked by the writing. He was like a cool guy. He like engaged unafraid the Jedi and was like holding his own against him, and then just got like fucked. So
we're told Boba Fett is the best, and this Gandro
is the best. And actually, they didn't update that until Gandro died. I think once Gandro died, that's when Boba Fett made it up. They
were like, "There's this other guy."
The writers were too scared. They're like, "What if he comes to life?"
It's like No More Heroes. It's like, you know, he makes his way up the ranks.
Oh yeah.
So they see this landing field, and they're like, "This is so weird to be here because this is like not anything. There's nothing here." And Han, like,
oh yeah, because at this point they've been traveling for like 8 days. They've lost weight. He has like a scruffy beard.
Yes,
and they just see like an open landing field base.
Yeah, so they go out and they like go check it out because Han has a bad feeling about this, even though I don't think he says the line.
No,
and they realize it's all fake. It's decoys.
They do like a whole sequence of hand gestures, like they're like doing the 2-person cool thing to like zip
very
to
much
get
like
there.
Empire Strikes Back,
and then they're
vibes.
like both trying to pick who gets to like go out in the open and just like spring whatever potential trap, and like they're getting like angrier and angrier at each other, and then Han's just like fuck it and just does it, and she was like,
and they realize that, but then everybody gets over there and they realize that literally the whole thing was a trap.
It's fake.
Yeah, and that it's just like all meant to snare them, and they like pass out and they're like taken away into a cave with a door that's shut, and
there's a bunch of cool
paralyzed
details here that like if you're like me and love this kind of shit where they're like, well, the wind has been consistent. Their nose tails are not in the wind where you would put it, which makes me think that these have been left here. Like there's stuff that I don't even know to think about that probably is based.
It's probably like some cool like
in like
World War
Air
II
Force whatever.
Shit. Yeah, sure.
And it just makes again Han. It makes you like believe that he is as capable as he is because they like give you 90 million bits of information that he knows that you're like. You don't have to just be like, I guess I know it because he thinks it out loud. Or whatever.
Yeah, it's just capable, cool guy, Han Solo shit. And then they are stuck in this like sad boy dungeon time for a little while. And
they all get like gassed.
Yeah, they're literally like they wake up in like a room with no exit, and they're like sad, and they're like I don't think they're actually around a campfire, but Skinks is playing his music again.
Oh, they have a glow tube. They have like a torch that.
Yeah, exactly. And Han and Hasti have like a little.
Dude, this is like a jolly.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Moment.
A jolly adjacent moment where she's like, no, but yes, but yes, but no, but no, but yes, you scoundrel.
Hey, like Hasty, I don't know how deep we went into it. The whole thing for her is like she was born and lived on this like, well, I guess this planet. They're in like a mining company. Like your whole life is there. And I guess like her sister, because she was the firstborn, got to be a pilot. Like you could pass down. Her father was a pilot, so he got to pass down his like. It sounds like your role is almost like a card dealt to you, and he got to pass his like pilot card down to his sister. So her older sister got to go fly and see shit, and she's just been like doing shitty mining jobs her whole fucking life. She's like, I'm just not gonna fucking die in this hole. Like, I want this fucking treasure. I have a life ahead of me. I want to get out of here. And she just like shouts and kicks, and then Han like goes in to be like, hey, baby, that's all right.
Yep.
And then also fucking kisses her, and they like kiss for a second, and then she's like, no, you fucking guy with your like silver tongue and your like plump lips. You just like.
She's 100% right, but it's weird that in this time period, like guys kind of, they're just everybody, like they can't resist Han Solo.
I guess like she's more right than Jolly because she's like, where are your fucking people?
Yeah.
He's like, I got Chewbacca. He's like, Chewbacca's like your fucking friend and he's a Wookiee. Like, where, and you have your ship. And you have droids. Like, where's
your life, bro? Yeah.
You have like no people that you care about, which is not untrue.
I mean,
but it tees up well that with the comics and other stuff that like, even he's like, I should get out of here. and then stays for like 6 more months to like hang out with them. Like, I don't think that the writers were like thinking about this, but it's like a cool bit of like, oh, hey, that like feature that this person picked up is like a plot thread that also kind of goes across other stuff.
Like this Han Solo is like a fully like prequel ass Han Solo that's like not like young Han Solo or anything like that, really. Just like when Indiana Jones in Temple of Doom doesn't know that it's like not about fortune and glory. Like that's where Han Solo is right now. It's just like slightly non-heroic Han Solo. Really a cool place to be. Really well done. Sorry about the scene though.
But it's like sarcasm is still, he's almost even more sarcastic than when he deals with Leia. Like every time
he just yells, the Harrison Ford yell is like audible in the words.
There's straight up a like, get over your Chewie line that happens where you're like, okay, that's just Harrison Ford's voice.
I imagine the Harrison Ford finger point like in half of these conversations, all that stuff.
It's very much there, yeah.
Every time that they're just sitting around, the idea of him laying on his back, one leg up, where Hasty's just like, I'm so hungry. And he's like, yeah, I'll just order room service.
Yeah.
But she's like, who are we going to talk to? He's like, I'll just talk to the Chamber of Commerce. Like the entire time he's just roasting her. I get why she's like, you suck, bro. Why? What is going on?
Dude, I think like literally in this thing, he was like, I don't really want to like strain our like wonderful relationship, but you think I could get that watch from you? And she just like throws it at his like he just.
It's great.
He's like such an antagonizing, like
it's great because the theme of this one is like Han is just like surrounded by people who aren't good enough to like be where they are. Like Styx is like not cut out for a life of adventuring, and Skinks, yeah. And it ends up he is, and like it's fun because they figure it out. Same thing with Hasty. It's like she's like not cut out for this life, but she's like putting it all on the line. And Han Solo's the only one who's like, relax, it'll be fine.
Well, that's because most of it is them following in the footsteps of her sister. So he needs her, but doesn't like need her.
Exactly. It makes for a good, frustrating kind of relationship.
In his mind.
No, but like all these characters are like really well fleshed out though. Like Skinks' whole bit was just like, before he goes to the chrysalis and then becomes like a mindless fuck machine and dies, he like wants to have like one adventure.
Well, that's why it's lovable, but like in the point of view of Han Solo, who's the only person who is like competent in this group, he's like, it's like almost like Han Solo and the kids.
Yeah, they're all amateurs, and he's like, I'm doing this to get paid.
Yeah.
Because these idiots were trying to pay me in paper currency, like some sort of dummy.
It's like a family film version of the previous two books. That's what I was saying about the Last Crusadiness of this one. It just feels like a little like, you know, when Sean Connery's like, tuk, 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 and he has the like little umbrella and it's like a goofy thing.
I remember my Charlemagne. Yeah.
He like crashes like Nazi fighters with birds. Like there's a lot of that type of shit happening in this book, and it's very nice and it's very fun, and it gives it like a sort of like rollicking feel, like Goonies-esque feel.
Last Crusade has a boat scene, and it has we're getting away on a motorcycles. Like, I mean, it's
in this one.
Very close.
In this one later, there's literally a gong that they use as a shield that then skip the airplane Lao She bit and go down the fucking ice mountain on the gong. Okay, we'll get there in a minute. So Bollocks is like, oh, by the way, you guys are about to be sacrificed. Sorry. So they go in.
Yeah, this is the like Return of the Jedi C-3PO bit where they're like, they're going to human sacrifice, but they kind of revere automata.
Yeah, so these are
droids. So I'll speak to them, but they're not really like going to listen to me.
What do they call these people?
They're pre-Republic.
The survivors.
Survivor. I want to say the returners, but that's not the survivors.
The survivors. They're like marooned humans.
They are literally descendants of
shipwreck.
Like, isn't it Zim's people? Or no, they worship Zim though.
Yeah. They like, that's part of their like religion because it's here.
And they are straight up just like an incestuous tribe of weird fanatics
like
that are being
marauders,
lied to by their leaders in order to have like this weird death cult.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a fucking weird ass like adventure.
Yeah. I can't remember if it's like I don't think it's like Zim's people, but I think No, they were. Yeah, because they were the people that were. They're the descendants of the Queen of Ranrunes.
That went to go. Yes.
Because they were like
queens,
the engineers, and they like passed down some of their duties.
That's right.
But
so it's like a church that came from a shipwreck.
They mentioned
they create a false religion in order to like survive.
Yeah.
But it's super messed up.
I don't remember, I can't find the thing, but they talk about that they use like hypnosis. They have like a indoctrination
Like a
system
like
that
a drum
makes them
circle
all
vibe,
part
yeah.
of it. That they're like, it's an old technique, but it's highly effective, and they do it when they're children, so they like are like programmed.
Yeah, and they don't question how messed, like the society is messed up.
Yeah, and basically the reason they're being sacrificed is because they do a sacrifice all the time to bring the rescue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they were like they thought that for whatever reason sacrificing people boosts the Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, exactly. So they
And they don't get into it because later, or maybe we save the reveal for when it happens, but like there's two different kinds. There's like the survivors that like are just the people that believe all of it, and then like there's some of them that
The
know
hierarchy.
what's up.
Yeah.
But
Like
like
the
they don't
leadership.
explain what
it's very Fallout.
they're doing. Like, do they also still believe in some privacy?
No, they're literally just trying to
Control these people.
Yeah, because in order to survive, like if there was like, there's no help coming, then it's kind of like in
It's
the
like how
beginning.
religion
But
in general.
the assistant of the storage unit is one of them, like one of the leader guys that knows how it goes. And you're like, why do you like live a life in town, but then also live a survivor life? You also are sitting on the treasure. Like
It's. I mean,
the people that don't know, it makes sense. I'm just like, they don't go into what the survivors that do know, and they don't even reveal that there
So-
are those people till the end of the book. So you're just like, so what was your plan?
So in the beginning, 25,000 years ago, or whatever it was done to maintain order. And then ever since then, it's just a power thing. Like the people who are in charge just want to
the original
stay in
meaning.
charge.
The
Okay,
original.
so is this another one where it's like it's like one of those things where like why we're doing it is
It's the
lost.
same.
We're just doing it.
It's the
Yes.
same theme again of like the stunts and the people not being worldly enough to understand that this isn't amazing, and them landing on the planet and their plan just being, oh my God, a fucking giant millipede. Oh my God, a giant monkey man, to like impress people who don't know. It's the same thing again here where these guys are another like misled sort of like primitive tribe that they land in and like kind of trick.
Yeah, you're right. I guess like
Their world is small.
they don't know how big the world is.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like a Wookiee was like insane, or like a little bug. They were like, whoa. They're
Yeah.
just so like, if you grew up in that, you probably actually believe, and you have these like perfect silver, like sentinel crazy droids that you like
the wardrobe.
are there. Like you probably, I could see how
You'd think
indoctrination
yeah.
plus the evidence around you is like, I believe that this is
It's the most
real.
amazing thing that's probably near you. And then they actually went earlier, and I forgot to mention earlier at the very beginning of the book when they talk about Bollocks and Blue Max again. They explain that Blue Max has been upgraded to include a projector as part of his new
little package.
package. So at this point, again, just like I'm saying, like same thing again, where you trick the like primitive people, like just absolute opposite of Prime Directive. Blue Max does like digital projection distraction at this point. And I forget exactly what it is that he does, but it
he's
just blows
showing-
their minds again.
Because Skinks has a bunch of Queen of Ranrune knowledge, and he shares it with Bollocks and Blue Max. And so he just shows them the footage of the fleet, the like Death's Head with the exploding eyes logo, basically just like propaganda.
It's very
of
much
war stuff.
C-3PO vibes again.
Yeah. Or like how they showed the water world to the like insects before. They were like,
What the fuck?
they were saying like even the leader of them couldn't like get their attention. They were so taken by like visual footage of the things that they've been like, I guess we're part of, we didn't know at this point, but like their religion or their indoctrination, that they were like completely distracted by it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Bollocks like unlocks the cage and like
They all head out. Yeah, they get out. But then Baldur, what's his name?
Bador.
Bador, Jesus.
Baldur's Gate.
I just don't want to say manure, and I keep trying to like change it.
Meanwhile, manure.
Well, he like goes off on his own plan to like get the gear
Because once again, you can't kill. These are hero items. So they put on the sacrificial altar where they were going to one by one sacrifice them. All their gear weights.
Yeah, the bowcaster.
So he just, gets it.
But this is where the life debt thing comes in again, because now Bador is like in trouble. And so
Dude, I thought we were going to lose cast members because like multiple times he's been like, look, there is a good chance that we're not all going to make it. And then when they were like talking about the plan here, Han's like, once we walk out of this gate, you go, do not stop. If you stop for somebody,
I'm not gonna,
you're both dead. You have to go. And I was like, oh shit.
But that is not what happens. Not at all.
Yeah. So they like run and Bador, they talk about, he's like old throughout the whole thing. So they, he's not going to make it.
So they go help him. Somebody like trips over Skinks because Skinks again is a bug that is like on the ground. So this guy like trips over him. The alarm goes off. They get Han gets his hands on a flamethrower that just like keeps everyone back. And then literally, just like I was saying, Chewbacca takes like straight out of Temple of Doom, like the gong from the fucking like religion, like the altar or whatever.
Yeah, they were like banging,
and he uses it as a shield as they to like get it just to like Temple of Doom. And then, like I said, instead of waiting for the plane to take them and crash, they just go into the mountains and then go down the fucking hill on the gong, and they like slide all together down the mountain on the gong.
There's so much,
and it's so cold that they're blind, so they're just shooting down a mountain and they can't see.
This is the like Han continuing to be the uncle that knows everything, because they're like, well, we can't go that way. It's just like a steep hill down into ice, and he's like, we're gonging it. And then like, oh yeah, maybe the end of the ice pack is the end of their territory. And Han's like, I don't think that's going to fucking stop them. But
yeah, sure.
Okay.
And so they're like, what is happening? I don't know. I think we're slowing down. Oh, good. And then they hit a rock and they just all like fly from the gong.
Dude, it's like harrowing. This is like not on the level of like the detail of the other stuff, but they like, there's like frostbite involved. They're about to like fly off. It
just feels like an insane action sequence motion. Like this, like you were saying, the end of this book is just like go, go, go from this point on pretty much the whole time.
Do you know what had this energy? Not a good movie. I kind of want to go back and watch again.
What?
Prince of Persia.
Oh boy. I did not see that movie.
Had the most like, instead of just like cutting to somebody being there, they were like, every scene has to have some mini action sequence to get them to the next place. And
he's wall jumping all the time.
There's no time jump here. It's like, we're here, we're falling down this. We get in the snow vehicle. This crashes. Like you don't lose any time between now and the end. 40% of the book is the finale.
So they're like stealthing because now there's like guys in the snow. It's very like Last of Us vibes now. They're like looking for them out in the snow, but Skinks notices on the gong because he's like a like symbol expert that actually
he's been like studying specifically his whole young smart life.
Yeah, he realizes it's not actually a gong. It's actually a hatch from the bulkhead, and it's from the Queen of Ranroon. And so they're like, oh, fuck. So they find the like Mad Max like survivor truck or whatever it is. I think it's a land speeder.
This part confused me a little bit, but I guess it pays off later. They like kill a guy, and then they like see a cave, and in it are a bunch of like hover snow speeders.
Yep.
That have been there forever. I guess it's because they were secretly moving.
I think it's just like
stuff.
A depot. I think it's just like, yeah, like whatever.
Oh, no. I guess they revealed that these were used by the smarter survivors to put the robots into place to activate them.
There's like there's like a theater aspect to it, right? Like a backstage, like Disneyland element to it, I guess. But it doesn't really matter. They got their land speeder, and they head over to the Falcon, and the engine from the land speeder is helping them now because they were freezing before, and now they're not. So they get to this like.
It is funny how so much of this adventure was because they lost access to their vehicle on a world with like very little vehicles. Otherwise, like one ship, and this would have been in the beginning. Han's like when Hasty comes back and he's like, all right, I'm going to go fly this over there. I'm going to blow the roof off of their fucking thing, and I'm going to take the data disk. And they're like, you can't fucking do that. You're going to cause a stir. But now in hindsight, you're like, if he'd done that, this would have been over.
When they were like,
this is
sure.
This eventually would have been
that's
2
gonna be my
minutes.
fucking plan, yeah.
And
or she could have just brought a fucking yak back like Kevin McAllister.
but it turns out there wasn't ever a thing. The guy knew about it, and like there was no way that he was going to let her take the disc,
Right.
Because he knew it wasn't her.
Right. So then they're like overlooking the outpost on this overlook. They find the war robots, which Bollocks was interested in earlier when they found like the piece of them earlier. And they tell, this is like the attack of the war robots. So they like,
But first, it's important to note that before they get and see those, there's like one of the survivors in the know who has like an assault rifle that Han takes out. So now he has an assault rifle. It will be relevant.
yeah, Han needs a gun.
soon.
That's true.
Well, no, it's like
No, yeah, you're right. It's like a Chekhov's gun kind of situation.
yeah. It's like Chekhov's bipod assault rifle from a world with heavier gravity that they mention. So
That's why it's bigger.
that's why it's
It makes sense why it's big. It's like Doom.
it's like Chekhov's gun, except for Chekhov was like, oh, by the way, shit, we're in the third act now. I forgot. I should have mentioned in the first act, but now
Also, Chekhov's like
second gun.
the name of like a bluebird with a flight suit and a cigar.
Yeah.
So the robots are gonna like go march and kill literally everyone in here now, and
they just are ordered to go kill the mining camp.
yeah, kill everyone. And so Bollocks and Blue Max don't want that to happen, and they're like, "You guys go on. We will literally just try and like reason with these robots."
Oh no! Here is where he lies. He's like, Bollocks is like, oh, I'll try and keep up, but I'm like not feeling well, so you guys keep going. And they're like, what the okay. And then Bollocks is like, wow, I almost had to lie. But then they had the whole talk about like, these robots are just doing what they're programmed to do. Is it like right of us to stop them or to interfere?
Very similar to that comic with the like best friend of the Imperial guy when he's like, "You are my only friend, General," or whatever. And it's like, robots just doing what they're supposed to do shouldn't be held like treated like they're being evil.
It kind of is like they've been hinting that Bollocks has been especially fascinated by the war droids. I think because like by their era, you can't like droids can't hurt people or like not supposed to hurt people.
I also think he's very old. I think Bollocks is like actually that old.
I thought he was gonna like put himself
Say he
in one of those
was
bodies.
one?
Or something. I don't know, but he basically just like then goes and like talks to them and like tries to be like, hey, don't do it. Your guy's like dead for like thousands of years. It's like completely irrelevant. You don't need to do this. And they're like, no. Well, actually, he kind of like talks to him because he's like, what are you? And they're like, we're Steel Brothers. And he's like, okay, well, I have my command. The guy has like the command podium.
Yeah.
I'm going to go do it.
He's like, ugh, fuck. So Han's trying to warn Jacques.
I guess it was like J apostrophe O-U-H.
Is it supposed to be like a Star
or
Wars
like
ass?
Jacques, or like
Is it like a Star Wars ass spelling of the name like Jacques from like Earth? I don't know.
It would be.
I don't know why I said I was thinking like Jouch, but that doesn't sound right now. Your versions are
is
better.
awesome. I love
It turns out Jouch and Gandro and Gandro have teamed up, and the brother is Rawl, by the way, and Rawl and Han Rawl attack. I forget exactly what happens here, but he comes in like a vehicle.
This is awesome. I don't know why this gave me fucking like Helldivers vibes, but
I never remember like action set pieces as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's all I remember. They're like on the ridge overlooking the mining camp, and Han's like, I gotta fucking talk. And then everyone's like, doo! And sending people's like, no, stop. There's droids. There's no interest in talking at all. They're like, we're gonna fucking get you. And then they send out like an airship, like a gunship. And
that's what
Galandra's like,
yeah.
hi, do you remember like the agreement was like, don't kill him? And she's like, fuck you, my brother's gonna get him. And so he's like doing passes in an airship, and Han has this like giant blaster that is like too heavy.
He has like the BFG.
He fires like once, and like Chewie has to like hold him. And so like he does a pass and he misses. He basically like gets into a little like crevice and splays his body out, deploys the biped, and then when the guy's making a final pass, he like smokes the airship.
It's very
and
cool.
it like
Yeah.
crashes, and
It's very Old West vibe.
I'm just like, I don't know why it just reminded me. It reminded me of like the shit you do in like Helldivers, where you have to like deploy a rocket pod and like at the last second, and you
it's
just
like Paul and Chani fighting that fucking walker thing. If you guys remember that from Doom 2. Very cool.
which
They're
one?
moving between
They're like
the parts
running
of it.
and the thing's walking and they like,
Yes.
Same vibe.
they have to like set the gun up and fire it. Very cool stuff. And then she's, so Raul's done. Jouch is like, I'm going to get you. But actually Han Solo was right. A bunch of war robots show up at this point and everything goes to shit. But Bollocks has like continued. He like has a rapport now with these guys and they don't attack the Falcon. And
because even though he said destroy, I don't know what their orders, I don't remember exactly the words are, but I didn't think that it meant destroy all of the stuff, but they were destroying like, they were saying like they were like beating the shit out of buildings as though they were also people.
Yeah.
It was like intent again. His like
a full
Brian Daley's
literal,
like kicking the crap out of like walls.
it's like lemmings that have like fucking guns and shit. Like it's awesome.
And they were like about to get to the Falcon, and so he like uses his like. I think that Bollocks didn't want to like take away their agency, so he didn't like immediately like command them to stand down. Besides, just like don't.
He wanted to reason with them. Yeah,
He's like, just leave the ship alive, please. He like tries to reason with them again about like Zim being destroyed, and he like made a joke, and the guy's like, humor? What kind of robot are you? And it's like, well, I forgot what he says, but it's just like some kind of like, he's like, all right, well,
a robot that smokes weed, motherfucker.
yeah, he's like, good luck. I have my purpose, you have your purpose. And I think that's when like Bollock realizes like, all right, there's not like, there's not like, Bollocks is unique in that he has like gotten sentience via just like living so long that there's no other logical thing but to like observe and be like, wait, what is purpose? Like,
I love that he's tired. It makes me hype.
Yeah, and then he's just like, all right.
Feels like representation in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, there's like a whole sick. It's pretty brutal. This would be like an R-rated scene. Like they're destroying people, but they're also like the people are like fighting back. So they're like a miner like went up and like drilled the back of a machine, and then it exploded, which exploded the drill and like took out
that
his,
dude's face.
and,
Yeah,
like, all the shit. You're just like, it's like a horror scene. Han's about to get aced because he like uses the bowcaster. Like
it feels again
Chewie
like
goes to like save him and gets knocked down, so he like fires.
It feels
the
Temple of
bowcaster,
Doom
which
to me.
is like again shows you that J.J. Abrams didn't read this book when he was like, oh,
you know the
80-year-old Han Solo using the bowcaster for the first time.
You know the mine where it's like all the little slaves getting out in Temple of Doom?
Yeah.
That's like what's happening right now. They have to get to like basically there's a bridge between them and like wherever they're the barracks or whatever it is they need to get to.
Well, at this point, he's just trying to get to the Falcon.
They just need to,
fly out.
need to get the fuck out, and there's a bridge.
Yeah. But Galandro like saves, like they're about to get fucked, and then like Galandro like saves them, and then Han like shouts a warning to Galandro before he gets killed. So he does this like anime ass like bow, and then like grabs the like robot's arm as it passes, and then like launches. They like, I imagine it's like, woo, and then like does like a pirouette in the air and like lands and like kills him, and you're just like,
what
you
on
are
earth?
not that cool, but you're like, to the teenager in me, you're like, it's this Revolver Ocelot. Like it's like
70s action television, like to a T. It's like dumb as fuck. You're saying Revolver Ocelot because it is like the same level of coolness as like the Metal Gear Solid.
But
that's
cutscenes. It's like
it's even
wacky.
done movie-esque in that it's like the huge robot staring down at Han, and it's like, yo, it's over, and then its head blows up, and it's like in the distance is the bad guy who was like, ain't no one killing that bitch unless it's me. And you're like, yeah.
We're on timeouts right now, homie.
it's the fucking energy of Hobbs and Shaw when they're having like fight scenes where they're like, no, hey, you leave. Like they're like helping each other.
Opera. It's like operatic, like soap opera shit.
It's not deep, but it's fucking satisfying.
Super fun, yeah.
So then we have Jouch. It's not Jouch. It's Jouach.
Jouch.
And your Klingon is very good.
Yeah, it's Jouach. And that big dude is there. Embus Nance, whatever his name is. Endis. It
is like exactly basically
it's like
that.
Amos Ames. I don't know. I
but
forget
with
what
an E.
Famous Amos.
Famous.
I think his name's Famous Amos. And Famous Amos and Chewbacca like square down, and Jouch and Han square down. But then Jouch is going to kill Han, and then Hasty kills Jouch for killing her sister.
Yep.
And knocks her off the bridge.
She just like shoves her off a bridge,
which is the way you got.
I was like, all right, that's
clean.
And that's a wrap on Jouch.
And then Chewbacca like fucks up Famous Amos.
Dude, the whole book, his like a running thread is how fucking pissed Chewie is that he got like sucker punched.
This is for
by
his hat,
this guy, and he lost his hat. He got sucker punched, and he's like
not having a good day.
And he got sucker punched again in this fight. He's like, fucking no, and then like I think he breaks his bones. They're talking about like they're like lifting each other off the ground and squeezing, and
He
it sounds
crushes
like
him. Yeah.
he just literally like
Just
crushes
mushes him up. Yeah, mushes him
and
up.
then Han's like, took you 2 tries to do that. Jesus, you're getting old. And it's like, fuck you.
Chewbacca's like, later I'm going to kill your son. Actually, not in this. In this, it's the very opposite. And actually, Chewbacca doesn't kill Kylo Ren. He just shoots him. So they get over the bridge. No big deal. Bollock stays behind and like supercharges the bridge by recreating the robot frequency and broadcasting it. And the Falcon like gets, isn't it like Gandro gets it and brings it to them basically because everything's falling apart. And he's like, you know, you get a cut now, and when we find it, whatever, and we'll go get it, and then now we'll go get it all together, and then we can like kind of, you know, figure out who gets to kill who at the end.
Yeah, they do the we're enemies.
I thought, like they were gonna be like reluctant buds. I was like, oh
No, they do that such a good thing. That's like, it's like, look, for this moment, we are enemies. We hate each other, but we're going to get this to the end. And then when that's done, then we'll kill each other. And it's one of those things where you don't know what the writers have intended, because like maybe they will be buds in the end, but maybe they still hate each other. And so you're kind of like,
Han has that with like land. Like it's a not uncommon trope to have like people be like reluctant buds of each other.
Sure.
But I guess they did have a whole thing in the beginning where it's like, there's certain people who live and die by their reputation. Like, cause like Han's like, why would they come after me? It's like to like save face in his entire career. He has to like beat you.
I love it though.
So it makes sense, I guess. Like there was no way he wasn't gonna.
I love it though because Gandro is actually just better than Han. It's like such a great relationship because there is no way that Han Solo is gonna kill Gandro. Mm-hmm. No way. So they get into the vaults with the ship. It's like no big deal. Han and Skinks and Gandro get in there and they're looking for the real vault inside the fake vault.
yeah, but again, it's national treasure.
Yeah, literally.
It's literally the fake vault, but there's a real vault behind the fake vault.
Literally. And then Hasty and Bador and Chewie are back on the Falcon. Han and Gandro split up. Skinks is talking about the anti-weapon defense system because certain parts of the vault you're just not allowed to have weapons, is basically what he tries to remind him. It's like a Chekhov's anti-gun defense system.
Yeah.
And if you want to call it that. And then Han uses the fusion cutter to get into the real vault thanks to Skinks. And before they can look at the treasure, he's like, all right, it's time to fucking throw down, motherfucker. Before we know what's in here, let's settle this and see who's walking away. So they draw down. Gandro puts 2 in Han's arm, like faster than anybody's ever moved in their life. And Skinks pieces out, and Galandro's like, I'm going to get you. And
like he does just doubly. He is better than Han. He just
is. He would have killed Han. And but Skinks takes off into a chamber, and then Gandro draws down on him and forgets that it's the anti-weapon defense system and gets actually burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, he explains like he's not going to kill. He's like taking Han in, I think, because he needs to like parade him in front of
he's gonna do some stupid thing and be like, I did it, don't worry, I'm Gandro, I'm the best. But
he did the whole thing like, you know what, if I admit you, the weirdest thing is he's so obsessed. I think it just shows you like his own insecurity, but he like Han doesn't care about Gandro. He just needed to get his fucking 10 grand back. And Gandro is like so upset by it. The whole thing. He's like, you think you're fucking hot shit, but you're nothing. That's his whole, he's like having a whole battle with
He's
Han's
offended,
idea by it. And he's like, if I met you when you were a little less like fucking high on yourself, which I don't think Han ever even really is or was, like, you could have been my lieutenant. We could have had a great thing, but whatever. But I don't need to keep the other guys alive.
Yeah. So
to give you some, I just want to verify this because I think it's amazing. Compared to the last book where pages were spent on nothing important, from entrance into the vault to the fight to the death of Gandro is 4 pages, and then 8 pages to the end of the book.
yeah, and meanwhile, there's like
crazy.
9 pages of Chewbacca bending that fucking pterodactyl into the shape of a glider.
And the thing
Which
is,
doesn't even feel, it doesn't feel wrong because they
it's
spent so much
great.
time with the other stuff that you're like, now you know where it is. There's nothing else to spend time on. Like,
right.
Yeah, it feels really good. And they're like, all right, let's all go in together, figure it out. Let's see.
Let's see the treasure.
they-
Light the candle.
Yeah,
Let's go.
and they pop in, and it turns out that everything in there is like iron, steel, like the stuff that like today,
25,000-year-old worthless garbage, but then would have been
like
a fortune.
if we found like brass and copper and stuff in a vault from ancient times, or like some kind of perfume or something that was like only for kings or something like that.
yeah, he had like the resources to wage war on a scale that no one at the time could have managed.
But that's what I love about that twist is that the entire book is Han shitting on everyone's backwards old technology, and he shows up and he's like, I'm future man, and then the treasure of course is backwards old tech and worthless.
But you know who's not even honestly that pissed?
Skinks.
Is Han.
Oh, yeah.
Because he only did it because of a life debt that he owed. And when all of them were like, we're going to spend it on this, I don't know about that. And then what about you, Han? He's like, I'm not counting a single thing until it's in my bank, which was the best because then it's like,
He learned from the last 2 episodes of Han Solo's adventures.
Yeah.
That he just needs to like realize that at the end of this, he's going to get donked on no matter what. So he just does again. And he's
but
like, well,
he gets a good payday because they're like, okay, it's not like,
There's some
fuck
art
you,
and
whatever, but
stuff
there's
in
like
there.
enough to fill your ship with, and you will be able to like, it's like a nice payday. It's like if you just got like $100,000.
They're just not rich. Yeah.
You couldn't live off that forever, but you're like, that wouldn't hurt to have.
yeah, but there is lots of archaeological and academic resources in this vault. And so Skinks is like, I'm going to be like a fucking academic or expert researcher.
I could use some help.
Yeah, I totally, now that I have all this money that I can sell all this stuff to the university, I could use 2 droids, an old man, a woman with a dead sister, and a smuggler. And Han Solo's like, no, we need to go do our thing in space. Come on,
Speaking of
Chewie.
smugglers, that's all we're gonna do now.
Come on,
is
Chewie.
smuggle.
It's so
We're gonna date
funny
with
because
space.
his arc was like, all right, we've done too many good things. Let's go be like bad boys for a little while. I'm gonna go fucking. He's like, let's go take another shot at the Kessel Run.
I
And it's
heard
like,
we had these crazy Rhodian cocktails at the Mos Eisley Cantina.
it's
I hope that doesn't turn anything weird.
it's like an interesting way to look at Han because it works, but it changes it a little bit where like Han you think of as like a smuggler who doesn't give a shit about anybody and then like breaks good in A New Hope. But this one is like, dude, he's always been good. And he's just tried
honorable.
to break bad. And then he was like ready to break back good again at first notice. So it's like the end result kind of ultimately gets the same, but it's like where he is in the beginning. That's like kind of fun.
It's like Honor Among Thieves, but like because here's the thing. We're not thinking at all about where this story is going to go next right now. Like the 3 of us here or anybody reading this book probably back in the day. Nobody was
Return of
thinking
the Jedi.
like, well, but what I mean is
gonna
nobody
go
was
there
thinking
next.
like, wow, like I wonder if we're ever going to see Skinks again. I wonder what's going to happen with these characters. Everybody was just like, wow, what a fun party we just had. And so it's just really nice to be able to have these sort of lighter, sort of escapist stories that don't hinge on like revelations and like connections and stuff like that. I just think that's awesome.
And this one, I don't know if how much after Empire it came out, but this really is the like speed of Empire where it's like once the initial thing happens, it's just playing out.
Yeah.
And then you just get like a bunch of cool sequences, a bunch of inventive creatures, a bunch of inventive technology and other stuff. And it's like, man, now I feel like if you put this out, like you then see these like water creatures getting their own show on Disney Plus, and like they would connect nine other ways. But here it's like some of these aliens there's no pictures of because they don't.
This is the only time you've ever even heard of them. Yeah,
we will almost everything from this trilogy we will never see again.
Yeah. Bollocks and Blue Max, I don't even think they even pop up ever again.
All the characters at the end, they're this is it. They put a period on it and they're done. And it's like, and then Han and Chewie went off to other adventures.
And that's great because it's never like they're never going to be touched again. They're always going to be just as good. You can go back to this and you can read it, the same 1992 edition of this book that I'm holding right here, and read it, and it still has the same power because Bollocks didn't go off to become a fucking secret Sith Lord.
It has the same vibe. There was a thing I read the other day that was some producer was talking about music, and he was like, sometimes it's okay when bands break up because can you imagine the Beatles doing synth in the 80s? And I was like, that is a perfect way to describe this book. We're like, Han and Chewie had this adventure. It was 3 books and that's it. And I don't want to imagine that like Blue Max and Bollocks show up later. It's like, I don't want them ruined by someone else.
100.
They're fine the way they are.
Let it be.
Yeah. And like 3 that's a lot. That's good.
That's long. That's like a trilogy. That's an epic tale.
And if anything, they're out there somewhere living their best lives.
Yeah. I love
doing
that.
Goofs.
And that's Han Solo. I think this one was my favorite of the 3, maybe.
I like the first one. This is, again, back to Indiana Jones. The first one is my favorite, but I enjoy rewatching, and I would probably enjoy rereading the third one the most.
Yeah, it really feels like the clean sort of like thesis version of it. Of
the
what
first one, I think I was so surprised by. Like that'll be my favorite. I enjoyed them all. Like it was never not enjoyable. I think this is like the tightest written of them.
Oh, by far,
and like the most like by here he like knew what was going on. And there was still tons of details throughout. I like say, but we don't need to go over all of them. But like learn more about like the scopes and the technology, a lot of the cool stuff going on. So it's like still all the things that I have liked about this is there, but it was just like tight, and we weren't kind of like, what's this or what's that?
I loved these. I don't think we're going to get anything. Well, maybe I think I was going to say, I don't think we're going to get anything this pure ever again, but I think we will. I think there's actually going to be like a good chunk of time where we get some really freewheeling creative stories just like this.
I'm waiting for those Lando's books. Yeah. I'm ready for the Lando books.
I'm excited for more expanded universe like this, but I also, at the end of this, it like talked about the author and all the other stuff that he wrote. And I now am going to go read. So Robotech.
Yep. We were talking about this. Yeah, we were talking about this last time. Yeah.
I like love the video game and like love the concept, but tried to like watch the old animated show and it was just like rough. Like I love the universe and like that kind of mecha.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Finding out that he wrote like 10.5 books. What a weird present that like this writer that I love his style. Him and I are drift compatible. And then also this like franchise that I like tried to get in before. I'm like, sweet. Bollocks and Blue Max I don't get them, but I get like his writing of another thing that I want to
I hope that you really do that and then it like really turns out for you.
Guys, join me on the Robotech 10.5 book
Tech Talk.
It's awesome. It's awesome, these books, because they go so far away from the stuff that happens in the movies. And I got to tell you, like, we've been getting a taste of it, but like we're about, after like a few more things, we're about to step away from these main characters like quite a bit. So I'm going to go over the next 5 things.
Okay.
And then maybe I'll go over the next 10 things just to give you guys get hype.
Oh, yeah. Also, one last thing that I read about Brian Daley is that he was like a huge fan of like Star Wars, like blew his mind. I don't think he was like young. And so he like loved to work on this. And it's really nice when somebody works on something that they're actually a fan of and then they actually turn in additive work. I know that J.J. Abrams was a big fan of Star Wars, but like this is the kind of like old canon stuff where they like
it came
really
through,
nicely pair with it. It doesn't need to like do big to like change the stakes. It just is like a labor of love from a good writer. And then it's a treat to all of us.
Yeah. The thing that I was going to go in and say today was that this is like the last crusade of all the Han Solos. And I just had a grand time on this little journey with this guy, Brian Daley. Shoutouts.
And again, it goes to show what Star Wars is. It's a setting. You're right. It's Indiana Jones in space, but it's a setting. There's weird tribes of people and there's lost, treasures. We need to play in that world as much as possible. Just like do whatever you want, but make it in Star Wars and it can be fine.
Yeah.
This is a great example.
It's a setting. But before that, up next, the next 10. Why not?
Sure.
Star Wars newspaper strips Epic Collection 1. I don't know if that's going to be good. That seems crazy to me.
The newspapers? Where would you get this?
It's a Marvel Epic Collection.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Star Wars newspaper strips Epic Collection 1. Then we've got I can't
even imagine what that is like.
I think it's going to be kind of like a lot of those black and whites that we got. I don't know.
I'm just imagining Garfield-esque, like, what is this supposed to be?
What is that?
Another case of the Chewies.
Then we got...
I hate Galactic Standard time units.
Then we have the third Marvel Epic Collection, like the ones we've been doing.
Great.
Then we have the fourth Marvel Epic Collection, like the ones we've been doing.
We're doing back-to-back comics.
Yeah.
Back to back to back.
Back to back to back. Then we're at Return of the Jedi Land. Where we do the novel and then the movie. And then, without a break, we jump right into the Lando Calrissian trilogy.
I am so hyped for those.
The Lando Calrissian and the Mind Harp of Sharu.
Come on, let's go.
Lando Calrissian and the Flame Wind of Ossian. And Lando Calrissian and the Star Cave of Thambaka.
They're so out there. I'm ready. I'm so excited.
Then it's pretty much the last comics for a while that are like the ones that we've been reading. Epic Newspaper Strips 2, which is like 84. Epic Collection comics, which are in the 80s now also.
Sure.
Epic Collection 5. And then it's the Ewoks. It's the
movie?
Yeah, the movies and the
holy shit.
And the Droids TV show and the comics.
Oh my god.
It's the flavors
movies. Oh my god.
The flavor is slowly changing. Let's put it that way. The flavor is slowly changing, and I haven't even mentioned an entire other medium of Star Wars that we're not even going to get into right now because I don't want to get people excited for stuff, but there's stuff that we're not even mentioning to you that's
I must stress for everyone who talks about like, man, like if you're not in on Star Wars at the moment, like current Disney Star Wars, late 80s was also another
rough time.
Killing Star Wars,
rough time. But also like now that we're through it and Star Wars survived, it's like it feels good. It feels like a weird we're gonna have.
I don't know how good it's gonna feel.
We're gonna have
it's rough.
We're gonna have a grand time with those Ewok movies.
I really enjoyed, even though I didn't like. I'm not like the holiday special was a good thing. It is fascinating.
Yeah, sure. These are better than the holiday special. The Ewok movies are like,
I don't know about the droid show.
Are we going to get the same amount of our own little memes of watching Grandpa get
You have no idea who's in these movies. You haven't even met these guys. Do you remember anything about them?
I know that what's his face is diabetes.
Oh, Wilford Brimley. But do you remember his little guy?
No. His little guy?
We'll get into it. We'll get into it later.
What does that mean?
Take us out. SWOCBC. We're done. Keep your Davis has a little newsboy hat now.
Look, I got my little Chewie's Admiral.
And he keeps it real close.
Don't sucker punch Davis.
Yeah.
He will come for you if you take his hat.
Dude, there was a part when they were like, the college girls were like, what do we say? Because he was like, Han was like playing limo driver to like Chewie and the girls, and like he's like, just say whatever you want. He just likes to listen to people talk.
Yeah.
Which I get, because like Snoopy likes to be talked to, and I don't think he knows what I'm saying half the time. It's like,
that's true. I think Chewie, to his credit, I do think Chewbacca does understand.
He speaks English. He does speak basic. Yeah. But like, I get the idea of like, sometimes it's just nice to be talked to.
I like that nurse in Force Awakens at the end who was like, "You were so brave, Chewbacca. You did so good." He's like, "I was brave." Anyway, keep your friends close. Keep Davis far away.
Sure.
Keep Davis far away.
Another galaxy, another time.
Hang 10.
The Star Wars Old Canon Book Club is made possible by contributions from our listeners at patreon.com/SWOCBC. Thank you for your support. This month's Patreon Masters of the Force are Sovereign, Ian Berinade, Trevor Isom, Patrick Rowland, Matt Wars 56, Amy W, T Boneses, Jazz Owl, Evan Alexander Guillen, Peacetime Mando, and Metroid Mike. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon with a discussion about our next selection, Star Wars, The Newspaper Strips, Volume 1, by Russ Manning, Ross Helm, Alfredo Alcala, and Don Christensen, among others. This episode was edited by Alex Del Campo and Alex Faciani. The theme song is Venus, the Bringer of Peace by Gustav Holst, performed by the U.S. Air Force Heritage of America Band. Original show art by Jackie Whistler. See you next time.